Hello everybody and welcome to 2CTV, the most watched online news channel from the United Kingdom and the latest updates from the Middle East. Today we're going to have a quite busy evening actually. We're going to have a number of shows for you guys, a lot of news updates, not just from the Middle Eastern conflict, but of course internally British politics is all falling apart. Tory MPs resigning, Richard Tice threatening the Tories. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about illegal migration as a crisis. But in this video, we're going to give you the latest update on the relationship between the Arab League and Israel, specifically UAE, because they have gone against the rest of the tribe of the anti-Semitic Arabs, which is a little bit interesting because they know what's going to happen, but what could happen later this year, which will be the US presidential elections. Let's get on the show. Alright, hello to everybody in the live chat. We're going to come and get your reaction live throughout the stream as usual. We're talking about the final decision that the UAE as a country and as a state have decided to make with regards to their relationship with Israel and what they want expectations to be for the Palestinian side, essentially. So it's fascinating because over the last 3 months we've had not just the Arab countries like Saudi or UAE, but also Western countries like France, America, Germany. At times, from the beginning, they've been quite clear that, well, yeah, we are supporting Israel's right for self-defense, but they also diplomatically had to come out to criticize Israel for the airstrikes, right? But every time they criticize, you got the left-wing media and the pro-Islamist media saying, Israel has now lost the support of, I don't know, Canada or America or Saudi Arabia because they criticize the airstrike. But that's just what they have to do. They have to do it every now and then anyway. But that's completely irrelevant. What the UAE have decided to do, despite the rumors over the last few weeks saying they might actually reverse every decision they've made since the Abraham Accords that Trump managed to successfully achieve, the expectations were they might actually be forced by the leaders of BRICS to go against Israel and basically make the U-turn. But surprise, surprise, UAE have pledged to maintain Israeli ties. The country have decided to stick by its decision to establish warmer relationship with Israel. The UAE has taken a strategic decision, and strategic decisions are long-term. This is according to the UAE's presidential diplomatic advisor, telling a conference in Dubai a few days ago. There is no doubt that any strategic decision will face multiple obstacles, and we are facing a major obstacle that must be dealt with. So this is the key point, because for those who know what's been going on over the last couple of months, especially back in November, we already heard what the UAE side wanted to do. They've been trying to push for Mohammed Dahlan to come and take over from the Hamas side. Mohammed Dahlan was the former leader who was part of the opposition party that Hamas side destroyed in 2006. And the idea is that, as the former leader of Fatah, people like him could take over. If you remember, back in October, when the whole thing started, the mission, Netanyahu and the IDF side said, well, it's going to be the responsibility of the West Bank side and the Palestinian Authority, like Mahmoud Abbas, to take over Gaza. Then Mahmoud Abbas became a coward, as usual. Then he came back and said, yes, well, I'll do it, but we'll have conditions. Then Israel said, well, it's too late now. We don't trust you anymore. And you don't really have the backing of even people in the West Bank. So Israel said, well, we're going to have to be in charge of Gaza for a while, but we don't want to turn it into Israel. We have to just wipe out the Islamist side and then have someone as an alternative government or in charge of governance afterwards. And one name that keeps coming out is Mohammed Dahlan, the former leader of Fatah, who basically got kicked out after the Hamas Islamists took over, and UAE were backing him to come back and be in charge of Gaza City, and well, Gaza and Gaza City in general. So that's why you can see the reason that the UAE have decided to put their foot down, despite the fact that there's so many of their Arab League allies saying, what are you doing? Is because, well, at least from my opinion, they're seeing what's going on in America. You've got the US presidential election coming up. As we get closer to the election, and we're already hearing of the last few days that Joe Biden is highly likely to just completely retire as we get closer to the campaign, so that the Democrats will have to find a replacement. And the opinion poll showed that Trump is potentially going to win anyway, unless something weird happens, which means Trump has been very clear recently. He wants to accelerate the plans that he had in the Middle East, the Abraham Accords, and the agreements between Israel and the Arab countries. And Trump wants to crush the Islamist side, specifically the Iranian side. And so UAE know that, okay, it's probably best if we're going to make any gamble, or as they call it, strategic decision, which is long term, they are going to go with Team Trump. That's basically what it is. Now, in other news, we also have some worrying updates over the last few hours from across Israel. It's not just Tel Aviv, it's not even just central Israel. There's been so many attacks ever since this news came out, and a number of news updates as well. But when the UAE stuff came out, and the update from the Lebanon and Hezbollah, one of their commanders got destroyed as well, has been eliminated and has been sent to meet his 72 virgins. So good luck to him. But now we have the Islamists once again attacking Israel, and nobody in the mainstream media is reporting it. Classic. Let's go to the videos we have from Israel at the Iron Dome defending the country.
לא, פתאום שמעתי את חבר שלי עכשיו.
So yeah, this was the latest footage that we have from Israel. They continue to get under the attack, and the mainstream media are not reporting any of it. So the barrage of rockets fired towards Tel Aviv. This is mostly from the southern side in Gaza, targeting it. The Islamists, they said we did target Tel Aviv with a missile barrage in response to the Zionist massacre. Roar, so scary. We also had the Lebanese side, of course, targeting the northern side. But you can see the map. The alerts were everywhere. Center, Tel Aviv, even towards the Jerusalem side, everything's been covered. And a lot of people had to run towards a shelter. If the Iron Dome fails, the whole thing will be wiped out. So those who keep claiming that, well, Israel are essentially they're no longer the underdogs, and they are so powerful and evil, it's because they've been smart enough to create technologies like the Iron Dome. If they didn't have that, if that country would not last 10 minutes, it would get wiped out. It's a small place. But anyway, we'll cover all this, continue to that throughout the evening. Let's go to the live chat. Let's get some of your reaction, actually, as you guys who are familiar, this is what we do. Okay, so we have foreign correspondents saying these are peace rockets. This is exactly what the political left in the West would claim. They're still going around brainwashing everyone in the West, the Islamist side, and the narrative is, it's not necessarily peace rockets, but they call it resistance and liberation. Oh, these are such good words. Definitely not aggressive. We have a comment from Israel. Yes, the south center of Israel. We ran for shelter. Thanks for the update. Hope you guys are well. Chris Wintle says, send Jeremy Corbyn to Gaza to report. Problem with Jeremy Corbyn is I'm not really worried about his bias. The problem with Jeremy Corbyn, I don't think he could be a good journalist. The guy is so grumpy. He's just so boring and grumpy. Anyway, Aviva says, excellent coverage as always. Thank you from Jerusalem. Thank you very much for watching. And on the issue of Trump, because we're talking about how one of the main aspects of the UAE deciding to stick with their relationship with Israel and go against the rest of the Arab League was because they can see that Trump is going to come back somehow. Mac says Trump ain't going to win. So that's the opinion of one of our viewers tonight on the live stream. So let me know, guys, if you agree with this comment or you still think that he's actually going to win. So at this point, if we go with the numbers, I know we can't really trust opinion polls, take it with a pinch of salt, but the trend matters and consistently shows that Trump is beating everybody, including Biden or a potential Hillary comeback or anybody else. The only way that they could stop him is either rig the election or take him out, or some accident happens, or I don't know, something weird happens. I'll find it difficult to see how they can democratically at this point stop the Trump wave. So let me know, guys, in the comment section if you agree with that comment that Mac made, that he's going to lose, or do you think he's going to win, or he's about to win but they will take him out somehow. Let me know what you think. Right, let's go back to you guys. S says, thank you, Maya, for exposing the truth. You're doing an amazing job and keep it up from Canada. Thank you very much, Canada. We're actually going to have a video later tonight on the channel from Toronto as well. A quick update. They've been kicking off again. Some of the protests, the weekend protests every weekend, every Saturday throughout the Western world has become like a picnic routine where young people come out, not just young Islamists, but also young leftists come out every Saturday from London and Berlin to New York and Toronto and all places to keep protesting, right? It's become like a routine, like a dance. And it's like a day out. It's quite fun if you're a nutter. But there was a bit of a problem in Toronto a couple of days ago. There were some clashes. We'll talk about that later as well. We have some footage to show you guys. All right, let's see. I asked you guys if you think that this Trump thing is actually going to happen or not. So one comment says Trump 2024. So I'm guessing that's a more optimistic comment about Trump winning. I don't know. We also have... is there anybody else predicting 2024? Oh, well, Mickey Mouse says... We have Mickey Mouse watching the channel. Trump is controlled opposition, although controlled has 3 instead of E. I think it's to be edgy. Fair enough. And what else do we have? This person's now changed the comment saying Trump 2025 rather than 2024. Oh no, so many. Oh, Vivek and Trump tickets. I don't feel Vivek has been quite clear. It's probably not going to be the vice president, but there are not many options for Trump left, really. M says Trump is going to win. Trump would get my vote, another person says. And so it seems like more people are still optimistic. Oh, there we go. I want Trump to win, but the deep state will prevent it. Fair enough. And there was some... I just missed another one. Great. Trump certainly won't beat Trump. Well, Trump... What? Anyway, it's on the screen. Okay. Of course, Trump is going to win. Nobody is stupid enough to vote Biden back again. I think that the fear is a lot of people thinking that the intelligence or some people would try to stop him, prevent him from winning, or the judiciary. I don't know. But we'll find out as we are close. Obviously, 2CTV will be in America in a few months to report from the US elections. And then I'm going to have to come back and report from the UK election. It's going to be a very busy year, 2024. Anyway, we have some super chats. Let's go to the super chats. Appreciate all the support. We've got Roy saying, thank you for being a real news source. Thank you very much. I try. And we have RG, another super chat. Thank you, I believe from Israel. Hezbollah are threatening to react harshly after today. Obviously, because Israel took out the commander, the Hezbollah commander. I personally don't think they will do anything special, and Lebanon, just like Israel, doesn't really want to ignite a full conflict. Yes, exactly. I mean, I don't know why so many people take the Hezbollah side seriously. They're just a bunch of clowns. and they're losing resources because the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are withdrawing some of those support because they don't have the money anymore. They've been sending money everywhere, the Iranian regime, and they have to now focus on the Houthis in Yemen. Then they're new puppets, and no, not new, but right now they're new priority, and it's all kicking off for Hezbollah. So that's why you got the leadership, Nasrallah, gathering the troops, the rallies, and all the members in Lebanon, and then he himself sits in a bunker and Skype his speech or do it on Zoom or something. They put a screen. He's such a coward, absolute coward. Anyway, another super chat. Thank you very much. Star Helix saying MSM mainstream media will make it look like Trump is winning unanimously on polls and make Republicans stay at home. Don't fall for the fake news. Trump Vivek turns. Yes, though that's also that fair enough in terms of the fears that a lot of people have, the supporters of Trump, and the potential foul play. The mainstream media, you can never trust what they do and how they form the narrative anyway, or the opinion poll companies. Anyway, Bad Matam, thank you very much for your super chat saying Happy New Year, Maya. Trump and Israel for the big win. Long live Israel. Thank you very much for the support. All right, so we are going to go back to the actual updates because obviously if you joined us late, the main conversation that we're having now with you guys in the live chat is about the fact that UAE, which might not sound surprising now that it's happened, but I can assure you it is still shocking, well, surprising, because the last couple of weeks, the speculations were there's a lot of pressure on UAE, there's a lot of pressure even on Saudi, even though Saudi want to be in charge, from the rest of the Arab League, and there's a lot of threats from the Iranian side, the Qatari side, they're in a very soft way, to push them, to pull them away from the relationship they had with Israel. But that's kind of changed. And again, my opinion is that partly because they can see a potential Trump comeback, because Trump wants to push for these relationships to happen again between Israel and the Arabs. But partly, it's just partly. The other reason is they can see that Israel is winning. There's no reason to go and back the Islamist leaders like how Qatar did. And Qatar literally gave them a safe haven for a long time. So UAE are not stupid. And now we have a situation where, because they want to get closer to the Western world, the Western system, rather than BRICS and all the other side, because they know there's no future there. The Chinese economy is not stable. The Iranians are, well, losing. There's no one in charge when it comes to the leadership of BRICS economically. So UAE decided to go, okay, well, we're just going to go back and maintain Israeli ties. And they also said, in order to establish warmer relations, they call it, strategic decision. They used the words strategic decisions like 3 times in one statement, UAE leadership, and they clarify strategic decisions are long term, which I appreciate. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure that, hey, this is not just a wishy-washy Western style politicians U-turn. This is actually, we made a decision long term, blah blah blah. And they know that they have a plan, because as I said before, the former leader of Fatah, who got kicked out because of the Hamas leadership in 2006, Mohammed Dahlan, he went to UAE in order to be protected, and because he couldn't stay in Gaza or the West Bank. So they kind of want him to go back. And Israel ideally wants some of the Muslim world to take responsibility of Gaza long term. So it's all about if anybody could actually provide that security. Anyway, we also talked about the sirens and the attacks across Israel. Again, it's been 94 days straight that either all of Israel or part of Israel has been targeted. Nobody in the corporate media care about this. Let's quickly go back to you guys now in the live chat to get your reaction. Keith, thank you so much for your super chat support. Keith Lawton, one of our good, loyal regulars. Right. Dava says, well, this is great news. Yeah, I mean, we've had so much doom and gloomy and negative news recently. So I thought, okay, we could start today's shows by giving you guys some sort of optimism about... I know people would see this as, well, this is Maya's bias. He sees it as a positive news because it's UAE becoming friends with Israel. No, the reason it's a positive news, it's not just in a tribal way, oh, my side is winning or their side is not winning. It's positive news because if you want to have any level of peace long term, you're going to have to destroy the Islamist side, the jihadists side. You're going to have to. You can't have peace deals with a group of people who are going around chanting from the river to the sea. That you can't. So if you want to have good relationship between the Arab world, the Jews, but the Persians and the Christians in the region, and the atheists, they matter too, then you have to get rid of the nutters first. And then you can have the grown-ups in the room, essentially, from the Arab world to make these decisions. Maya, some of the comments on here are disgusting. It happens a lot, unfortunately, during the live chats, but free speech, guys. Unless somebody spams the live chat a lot, then let me know in the live chat, we'll get rid of them. But you're allowed to say whatever you want. Just be nice to each other. Come on. What else do we have? Damn, you are the media. Mainstream media are traitors. Well, I've dealt with the mainstream media people a lot. Obviously, throughout the years, I've had to deal with them directly. At worst, obviously, you have people who have their own political agenda, like the heads of Sky News and those guys. At best, I can assure you, these people are such amateurs. They are so out of touch and amateurs. They don't know. It's just insecurity. There have been so many people who've been exposed from Sky News or Channel 4 or wherever, BBC, that said they chose not to report something because they just felt they didn't feel confident enough. Or they were like, well, they don't know the nuance about it. This is the problem. The new generation of people who are getting into certain industries and professions, whether it's media, whether it's politics and many other areas, or the younger generation, and because we are now recruiting people based on their identity as well, everyone is just basic. No one is professional enough. Nobody actually is passionate about their own industry. How many people who are graduates and get a job at the BBC are as passionate and professional minded as the BBC people were back in the 70s or 80s? Now, ironically, you get more people who are passionate and try to be more professional who start YouTube channels or new media outlets than those who, with their money of mummy and daddy, go to a good university and then go to a graduate scheme with the BBC and then get a job there, or Labour HQ or Tory HQ. It's the middle class kids who basically just like everything's handed to them, so they don't appreciate it. Amateur hour, absolute amateur hour. Right. Pete says, thanks, I'm an atheist, but I welcome your following sentence about all the nutters. Oh yeah, this was about when I said about the Middle East. If you want to have peace between the Muslims, the Christians, the Persians, the Jews and everybody else, and also the atheists, then of course you have to get rid of the nutters. All right. I feel isolated, surrounded by idiots. Pretty sure that was also a quote from Noah before he built the ark, because he was surrounded by idiots as well. I'm guessing you're talking about the live chat. Hopefully not. Let's see, what do we have? Andrew says, could you trust whoever becomes a leader of Palestine? Well, there's no such thing as Palestine, so you can't be a leader of Palestine. But if we're talking about the situation in Gaza, because people are talking about Mohammed Dahlan and those guys, the former leader of Fatah, you're going to have one of them. The problem is, for years, decades, the deep establishment of the Islamic world in the West Bank, in Gaza, and many other places as well, they don't have to be the leaders themselves. They've been in charge of schools, education, they've been in charge of the media in the Arab world. They've been brainwashing kids and the younger generation. So even if you, for example, find a so-called Palestinian leader who's more moderate and more sensible, unfortunately, that person might get pushed out or assassinated by the rest of the population, because the rest of the population are now the problem, unfortunately. Not saying that every single Palestinian is basically a jihadist, but when you have younger people being brainwashed to at least be sympathizing towards jihad, then if you have a good leader, that someone, or the Jews say, oh, we trust them, the Christians say, we trust them, the Saudi would say, we trust them, and that's fine, let's just have a good, sensible Palestinian authority, then they might not get the consent of the rest of the population. So it's a lose-lose situation. What are you going to do with it? So, of course, if it was the other way around, the Islamist side would just say, genocide, let's just wipe them out, the Jews and everything else. But that's not really sensible. That's against humanity, wiping out a whole population. Kenneth says, I have lived in UAE for many years. I am Irish, and the UAE leadership is far more progressive than Ireland's, especially in their relationship with Israel. This is the one, it's controversial, but of all the Western interventions we've made since the Second World War, 20th century, when America became the world police, everything's failed, mostly, really, long term. Not just Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya. Most interventions failed, either short term or long term. That's why I have a problem with modern neocons who are still promoting for warmongering and all that nonsense, or liberating nations and forcing them to have democracy. But the one example of relatively successful version of Western capitalist intervention was actually, it took a few decades, but it was the certain Persian Gulf countries like UAE, and now it's getting there with Saudi Arabia, obviously Kuwait and those places. And the way they did it was, again, it's not the best idea, and it's still better than having your tanks taking over that country. But instead of America taking over those countries with weapons, they did it with money. So they used basically corporations to go in there with oil and everything else. But overall, over time, that kind of helped, because eventually it was the corporations from the West being in Kuwait and UAE, but then they helped them create their own corporations, their own big money, and then they got in charge, the actual people in UAE and in Kuwait and even Qatar technically. So they're no longer technically fully dependent on the Western corporations in their own countries, but by creating growth and wealth and making more people more prosperous in those countries, by default, you make them more educated, more civilized, and more progressive. That was exactly the journey. It took 2 centuries. The journey of Europe, and mainly Western Europe and Northern Europe. You know, we always talk about the rise of liberal democracy and free market capitalism and all that. Is basically the main point of it is when you prepare the culture to accept high growth economically and opportunity for everybody, then education standards will go up, and of course civility will go up. And now we're going backwards because multiculturalism is making things more regressive in the Western countries. But in those places, like you can see a perfect situation. Why do you think Saudi Arabia a few years ago ended up giving rights for women to start driving? Do you think they suddenly became woke, or do you think they were like trying to pander to the Americans? Not necessarily. It was because the establishment in Saudi at that point realized, they looked around saying, okay, more of our people are becoming essentially more middle class, more prosperous, more educated. And at that point, even if you're a dictatorial regime, you can't really kick them anymore. So you have to essentially cave in. Same thing happened again in the West. Throughout centuries, eventually, our leaderships in all our countries became less dictatorial, kings and queens. I mean, definitely in this country, in England, it stopped a while ago, ages ago. But if you want to do this, now we have a problem where some of the leadership from UAE, Kuwait, Saudi have said, they've come to the West, they've been on TV saying, well, ideally we want to be even more progressive, more pro-liberty, but there's still some people in our country who are still backwards. They didn't say directly, but they essentially implied that is the problem. But if more of them become more prosperous, growth, spread growth, the worst you could do is do socialism, redistribution of wealth. No. You create more wealth, and the rest of society will become more prosperous and more educated. Jack Jones says, it's nice to see into the future, like most of you out there. Tory voters are in denial. The last 13 years are the worst in history. Not necessarily the worst in history. We have had the worst in history. And the last 13 years, well, it's been, let's just say, disappointing. And it's been a waste, considering it was the promise of, conservative governments. Absolute failure. Definitely not the worst. Very, very divisive, but not the worst. But the Tories are dead, or at least they should temporarily die and come back, or just shut it down. I don't know what they're going to do with it, with their own party. Anyway, 2 more super chats. Let's go with Mr. Brooks saying, thanks for doing all the work that you've done. Thank you very much. And Thomas says, from the continent of Europe, got the UAE and Saudi Arabia are rich. This is the difference. Exactly. You make countries rich, you make it more civilized. Anyway, so we are going to take a break. We're going to have so many updates for you guys tonight. So I'm going to give you a preview. Don't go anywhere, because every half an hour we're going to have something for you guys, a video and a news update on this channel. We're going to talk about what happened a couple of days ago in London, in Westminster. Do you remember when I went to the protest outside Parliament? Things kicked off after I left, so I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Richard Tice's reaction to one of the Tory MPs resigning today. We're going to talk about the royal family having a panic meeting over Prince Andrew. We're also going to discuss one of the American judges that did a potential cover-up on Bill Clinton's Epstein relationship case. And of course, we are going to talk about illegal migration, because a few of the illegal migrants on the BB Stockholm have been arrested for harassing women, English women. And Jeremy Corbyn is about to launch a new political party to oppose the Labour Party and split the votes. It's going to be brilliant. And Viktor Orban is taking over potentially the European Union, and the EU bosses are freaking out. All that is going to come tonight on 2C TV. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.